Welcome to this edition of Hindsight. I'm David Hines. Today I want to talk a little bit about Guyana's 2020 election. Guyana's 2020 election has turned out to be a watershed moment in Guyanese political history, not for the reasons that have been bandied around by some forces, but because it has forced Guyanese to come face to face with the political realities which have bedeviled our country since the coming of political independence and before. Given the fact that a section of the chattering class has disproportionate access to the public and private media, which have together been weaponized as part of regime change, there has been a simplistic explanation of what has occurred in Guyana since March 2nd, 2020. Self-serving and biased political narratives are nothing new to Guyana. Ours is a divided society in which entire groups view socio-economic and political reality through narrow prisms. But in all of my observation and study of Guyanese politics, I have never encountered a more nonsensical, minimalistic, and ultimately mean-spirited narrative as the one that has been dominant in the media this past year. To reduce an election that took 5 months for a winner to be installed to a man with a piece of paper in a building is tantamount to trafficking in the comedy of all comedies. To throw around a word that means everything and nothing in Guyana, to describe an election in which the world's superpowers descended El Dorado-like on an hitherto unimportant post-plantation society in the midst of an election is nothing short of political gangsterism. To allow one's disappointment at a government with an impeccable human rights record to lead one into unholy dens of revenge is the height of political immoralism. Some who walked that road last year are now trying to disassociate themselves from their sojourn. Others, steeped in barefacedness, are still trying, in the face of reason, to sell their stale merchandise. I have been dismissed by some friends and foes for not choosing a winner before all the evidence has been put before the world. I've been branded a rigger, a supporter of rigging, and a racist by those who wanted to buy a public voice to validate what has turned out to be regime change. I have had my differences with the coalition in and out of government. They target me more than once for discrimination when they were in government. Some of their top leaders hate my guts. I hope that such people never again get near to political power. But I will not allow my personal disappointment to drive me into political conspiracies aimed at unjustly disposing a government. Many literally and figuratively offer themselves up for sale. The compensation was attractive, but I refused to nibble. I was taught in my village not to allow my eye to yellow 2 times. As I said during the 5-month impasse last year, I would not take a side in a standoff that runs deeper than catchwords like democracy and rigging. I know better. While I am stoutly opposed to electoral rigging and will never participate in such activity, I would also never allow those with partisan agendas to use that word to get me to join cabals of revenge, steeped in hidden self-interest, and to validate regimes of domination. The truth of the matter is that the 2020 election is not over. Here are the reasons. First, it was an election in which there was no clear winner. Both sides put forward compelling cases to boost their respective claims as the victor. Second, from ambassador to prime minister to observers, external forces became so involved in the election that the sovereignty of that election was compromised. The external forces did not intervene as mediators. They instead lent their credibility and their power to, before an election was over, validate the claim of one contestant over the other. Third, what ensued was an impasse in which both sides were unprepared to surrender to the other. And in turn, they moved to mobilize their ethnic constituencies in support of their resistance. Fourth, a recount mechanism was created to bypass the normal route by which electoral winners are decided. Fifth, the recount threw up two results, one based on a raw count and the other based on an audited count. Six, GCOM's CEO produced an inconclusive report that was rejected by his chair, meaning the chair of GCOM. Seven, a GCOM majority chose the winner based on the former result. Eighth, a winner was declared as if elected, but has not been conferred with popular legitimacy. Ninth, the declared loser has since filed petitions challenging both the official declaration and the mechanism by which they were made. 10th, a major leader of one of the external actors visited the country shortly after election and entered into agreements with the installed government, some of which have not been publicized by the government. 11, one of the major external actors has since deemed the government installed as opposed to being elected. When one takes all of the above factors into consideration, it is clear that the 2020 elections were more than mere elections. They represented an occasion for a convergence of ethnic, geopolitical, and economic agendas and concerns. Many forces wittingly and unwittingly embraced the grand plan. Others self-righteously wrap themselves in notions of democracy that have little to do with core democratic values. Abstract democracy is never a substitute for a substantive democracy in any society, more so a society as complex as Guyana. The courts have been drawn into the conflict in a way they have never been involved hitherto. A new court of last resort, the CCJ, assumed jurisdiction when it was not thought by many to legally have it. Thus far, the courts have adjudicated based on their reading of the law, but the election has graduated to more than mere letter of the law. What the elections have evolved into is a gathering of challenges of managing a complex society that has now evolved into a potentially oil-rich country, sitting next door to a geopolitical hotspot. Let me repeat that. The election has graduated to more than the mere letter of the law. What the elections have evolved into is a gathering of the challenges of managing a complex society that has now evolved into a potentially oil-rich country sitting next door to a geopolitical hotspot. To understand and explain the 2020 election, one therefore has to grapple with those facts. The petitions are working their way through the courts. In effect, the courts are really taking a second look at the evidence, this time in a post-installation environment. We await their verdicts. Finally, I do not believe that the recent US Human Rights Report is an idle document. Its use of the word installed instead of elected is not accidental. Its citing of the complete monopoly of the media by one side in a volatile country is most instructive. Its reference to the Chris Jones incident is also not idle chat. Superpowers work in mysterious ways. The forces aligned with the installed government lauded the US intervention during the 5-month impasse as aiding the consolidation of democracy. Now that the United States seems to be questioning the democracy they protected last year, those forces are silent. I refuse to be silent. In the last year, I have watched and listened as some people painted a one-sided picture of Guyana. I'm ready now to join the battle to ensure that our country does not succumb to one party, one ethnicity, and one-sided domination. This is David Hines, thanking you for listening to this edition of Hindsight. And remember, you can join me on Thursday evening, Guyana time, 7 p.m., for my weekly podcast called Politics 101. And on Sunday nights, you can join me for Sage Speaks, when we discuss everything and anything Black. Thank you once again for tuning in to this edition of Hindsight. That in Europe, those welcome down Thursday evening. And a very good evening to you, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. I'm David Hines. Welcome down on Thursday evening on We're expecting to have the candidate for the leader of the DNC, Mr. Aubrey Norton, on tonight. He will join us later on in the show. So please spread the word, share the link that Politics 101 is on. I want to welcome down everyone, whether you're joining us from Guyana. We've been having some rain in Guyana. December is usually a rainy month, as we know. We have the December-January rain, and that's traditional, but it started a bit early this year. So we've been having some rain this past week in Guyana. If you're joining us from the Caribbean, Trinidad, Antigua, St. Lucia, Barbados, some of the countries where we have quite large Guyanese communities. If you're in St. Vincent, St. Kitts, I know we have some people down there. Welcome from where you are. Of course, North America, Brooklyn, New York, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Miami, those centers in the United States where quite a lot of our people tend to reside. Baltimore, which is considered part of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Quite a little bit of us out in Arizona. If you're joining us from Canada, Toronto metropolitan area, or wherever you are in Canada. And of course, in Europe, those of you who are joining us from England, the UK, whether you're in London or you're outside of London, welcome down to Politics 101. And I always keep forgetting our sisters and brothers in Suriname and French Guyana, and then some people joining us from France itself, and those also are joining us from Brazil and Venezuela. Welcome down to Politics 101. Our show tonight, we're expecting Aubrey Norton to join us later on. And as you know, today has been a long day for Norton and the others. Congress was expected on Saturday. The party appointed a chief election officer in Vincent Alexander. And the reports that are coming out is that Vincent has proposed that Congress be pushed back for a week. And so Congress is he's proposing that to get everything in place, the voters list and all the logistical things, that for all those things to be in place, it would not have been ready for Saturday. So they've postponed for 1 week. That's the news that's coming out. They have agreed that next week the Congress will be put back. No, I'm not sure, because the news didn't make that distinction. Didn't make a distinction between whether the Congress will go forward on Saturday, the 11th, and the voting will be on the 18th. We're not sure whether it's the Congress that's pushed back or the voting that's pushed back. What I'm hearing is definitely that the voting is being pushed back. We'll wait and see when Aubrey comes on. He will be able to tell us exactly what is going on there. Long-awaited Congress. Long-awaited Congress. The PNC will elect a new leader, so everyone is waiting to see the outcome of that. There have been lots of discussion as to who the leader should be. The base of the party has its own view on who the leader should be. The rank and file of the party has its own view of who the leader should be. Even those who don't belong to the PNC, and that's part of the opposition, they have their own view of who the leader should be. And believe it or leave it, the PNC, the PPP folks, they have their own view on who the leader should be, because they would like a leader that will fit in with their agenda. So they're rooting for a sort of a particular kind of leader. They've accused us on this program and other programs, Mark Benchop and Kadaki Amsterdam, Burke, and Sherry Duncan. They've accused us of trying to influence the race. And, the PPP saying we are trying to push the PNC to elect a radical leader. And in that regard, we are trying to influence the race. So they say. So everyone seemed to have a stake in this race. Why? Why? Because the PNC is one of the two major political parties in the country. And what happens in the PNC has tremendous impact on what happens in the country. It is popularly felt that the fact that the PNC is not as organized as it should be, that the PPP has been taking advantage of that situation. And so the view is that the sooner the PNC sorts out its leadership problems, then the sooner the PPP can be brought under some check. And so there's a lot of interest in the race. Many people in the grassroots and the rank and file in the party seem to favor Aubrey Norton. He's said to be the front runner, and all eyes are on him we know that the leader is going to be elected by the delegates to the Congress, the delegates, and not necessarily, well, not necessarily, but the delegates are not the membership, the larger membership, but the larger membership sends the delegates to Congress with instructions. Whether the delegates will follow the instructions of their members is yet to be seen. We shall wait and see. But I think we have all agreed that whoever becomes the leader will determine the attitude to the PPP, will determine the kind of opposition to the PPP. We've had Aubrey Norton on this show several times. In fact, he announced his candidacy on this show. And he was very clear about what he wants to do. He wants to rebuild the party groups. He wants to make the party financially viable. And he wants to apply pressure on the PPP. One of the things he said is that he will campaign vigorously for a new voters list as a bottom line for elections. So he has put forward a program of overhaul and reform of the PNC. How far he will go, one does not know. Richard Van West Charles also has been on this program. We had a town hall style meeting for him also. And here he has laid out his program. I forgot to mention as part of Aubrey's reform would be the resuscitation of the APNU, which for all intents and purposes is asleep. Some people say it's dead. Aubrey plans to resuscitate that. Dr. Richard Van West Charles also talks about rebuilding the party groups. He has been less forthcoming about how he will confront the PPP. Will he take a radical approach to dealing with the PPP? He was not clear on that. But he certainly wants to rebuild the party. He wants to rebuild the coalition, meaning the APNU. So we know that. Basil Williams was on last week. He didn't lay out a comprehensive program like the other two. He didn't lay out a comprehensive program. He said he wouldn't take his people to the streets. So there wasn't much there to go on. Joe Harmon has not come onto our program. We have asked him several times, and he has not come on. So we have to conclude that it has been a calculated, strategic move on Harmon's part not to come onto the program. He has promised, and then he has, said no, then he said, I will come, and he hasn't come. So we don't know, from Politics 101 standpoint, what Harmon's agenda is. We don't know. So if you look at the four candidates, I think we have a good sense of where Aubrey Norton will take the party. Because we have to talk about the party first. Some people want him to talk about the country, but to talk about the party. We have a good sense of where Aubrey wants to take the party, a fairly good sense of where Van West Charles wants to take the party. As I said, I Harman has not come onto our program. So as far as we are concerned, in the Politics 101 family, we don't have a sense of where he would like to take the party. So that's the lay of the land. Like we said, Basil Williams was on. He didn't give us much to work with. And so we can't make a determination here. This program, of course, is an independent program. The host is from another party. And so we are not backing. As they say, we don't have a horse in the race. We are trying to bring you as much information as possible without taking a position. But you, the members of our audience, are free to back whichever candidate you would like. There's some thorny issues. One, if Aubrey Norton were to win, what would be the situation vis-a-vis Joe Harman as the opposition leader? Joe Harman was appointed opposition leader by the leader of the list for the APNU AFC, Mr. David Granger. The PNC did not contest the election as PNC. They contested the election as part of a coalition. I don't know what the PNC constitution says about the leader and the role of the opposition leader in parliament, because it has always been taken for granted in the past that the leader of the PNC would be the leader of the list, and if the party goes into parliament as the opposition, that the leader will also be leader of the opposition. So there were never calls and problems as far as that is concerned. Now we have the leader of the opposition of the coalition and not the PNC, and the possibility that somebody else could be elected leader. If any of the other three is elected leader, what happens to Harman? Does the PNC constitution allows for a recall of Harman? From what I'm hearing, I don't think it does. But when Aubrey comes on, he'll be able to help us with that. Now, will there be any need, really, to remove Harman? Harman had said early on, I heard in an interview weeks ago, saying that he thinks the two positions should be merged, that the leader of the party should be the leader of the opposition in parliament. I understand he has backpedaled on that and kind of indicating that should he not win the leadership position, he cannot be removed as opposition leader. I'm advised that is his position now. So that's a thorny issue that they will have to deal with. The question of collective leadership, if depending on who wins, will that person embrace the others? Will they work together as a team? Or will there be so much bad blood coming out of this election that they wouldn't be able to work together? This is a problem. You know, the irony of all of this that we are talking about, and please advise me when Aubrey is ready. I saw he was in the studio for a bit a few minutes ago. Here is the irony. The party that is lambasted as the party that rigs the election and does not believe in democracy is the only party in the country that actually, at the party level, practices democracy in choosing its leaders. All the other parties, the leaders are appointed. This is interesting, whether it's the PPP, they appoint their leaders. The PNC is electing their leaders after a campaign. And that's the irony of Guyanese politics. The party that is accused of rigging elections in government is the party that is most democratic when it comes to choosing leaders. And that's a dilemma that political scientists will have to tease out. If a party elects its members in the way the PNC elects its members, how does that enhance the party's democratic capital when it gets into government? The logic says that the democracy at the party level should be able to spill over into the government when that party gets into government. And I've been looking at some of that literature, and that logic does not necessarily hold. Mr. Granger was elected in the PNC, but when it came to governing at the level of the APNU and the level of the coalition, he did not govern in a democratic way. He resorted to a kind of one-man-ism, to quote some of his colleagues in the PNC. So while he was democratically elected, when he got to governing, he did not translate that into governance. And that's a challenge for the new leadership that's coming in. To be fair to Mr. Granger, Mr. Hoyt and Mr. Burnham governed as one-man leaders. They did. One could argue that there was a level of super legitimacy that allowed Burnham to do that. Nobody questioned Burnham. It was in an era of the charismatic leader, you know, the Joshuas and the Moses who had brought the children out of Israel, and the Burnhams and the Jagans and the Eric Williams and the Manleys and so on were given a kind of super legitimacy. So they could get away with one-manism at the level of the party and even at the level of government as far as party members were concerned. Hoyt, surprisingly, got away with it too, but there were challenges to Hoyt. And by the time we got to Corbyn, the one-manism had really gone away. Corbyn tried to fight it, but in the end, he couldn't fight it. Granger, because the party got power through the coalition, then the added power of the presidency, which is an absolute power in many regards. It used to be more absolute, but it's still absolute. And he was able to use the power of the presidency to govern. The party, for all intents and purposes, didn't function the APNU didn't function, the coalition didn't function. The only game in town was the government and government through cabinet. And we know that cabinet is not a place of policy making and concourse of ideas. Cabinet is really an implementing council. Decisions are taken, cabinet carry it out. But under Granger, the cabinet made policy, implemented policy, and the party was sidelined. The coalition was sidelined. That is part of the reason the PNC is now, as a party, disorganized. The WPA as a party is more than disorganized because everything occurred in cabinet. And so once power was lost last year, you know what to turn back to the parties. And there wasn't any organized parties left. The fact of the matter is that parties contest election and parties win election and parties lose election. Governments do not contest election. And so when you govern without the input from the parties, if you're in a coalition, and if you're in a one-party government, you govern without input from the party, you're really looking for trouble. And so Granger was able to emerge as a one-man leader because he had government. Now, if the coalition didn't win and Mr. Granger had to govern the party outside of government, he might have operated differently, we don't know. So these are some issues that the new leader will have to deal with. The new leader will have to deal with these issues. The base has become quite radicalized over the last year, understandably so. Because where the party could not have given leadership to the base, and this is the base outside of the party, then others have stepped in, and I suppose people like myself have been part of that. In a sense, we may have contributed towards helping to push the base a little bit more to the radical side. Of course, the PPP's policies would have been the strongest factor as far as radicalizing the base. This is what happens. And so the new leader of the PNC will have to figure out what to do with that radicalized base. If you remember the discussion about whether the party is a black party and all of that, that question may be a moot question now. One of the aspects of the radicalization of the base outside the party is that the base has become much more ethnically aware, again because of the ethnically the base, the PPP's ethnic policies have really, in a sense, made the base more ethnically aware. How does the PNC policy that it's not a black party fits in to an ethnically aware base? Those are things that a new leader will have to grapple with. If Mr. Norton is there, can we get him in, please? So there's some really hard questions for the new PNC leader. How does he deal with a rampant PPP? A rampant PPP. who does not rule in a way that it even pretends to be democratic. It just doesn't care about the opposition. It just doesn't care. What does a new PNC leader do in that regard? You know, some of my friends like Rafi Dev and so on are accusing people like me of radicalizing the base. But he's not seeing how the PPP policy is radicalizing the base. I heard Mr. Dev last night on a program say that people like myself are doing the work for the PPP because we are making it difficult for the PNC to win, in the sense, making it difficult for Indians to come over. And, you know, with all respect, I have to disagree. You know, they're blaming us, but they're not seeing how the PPP is contributing towards the radicalization of the African Guyanese electorate. Look, I have a simple, well, not simple. My thesis on elections in Guyana is this. Elections are going to be won by 1 seat here, maybe a 2 seat, nothing more than that. I don't think either of the two sides could win an election with more than 2 seats or thereabout. And so therefore the strategy is to run up the scorecard on your base. So rather than looking for 80% turnout in your base and hoping to get, can you all please mute? Can you all please mute? Can you please mute, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Operator? Mr. Moderator, can you please mute? We seem to be having some problems now. I'm sorry for this. I don't know what's happening in the background there. I don't seem to be finding the operator.
Conniving morning, then you had your pocket full. In a biz there'll be morning. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning. Neighbor, neighbor, Joe come. Neighbor, neighbor, Joe come. Neighbor, neighbor, Joe come. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph, for me.
Yeah, this is Konganaya outside of Demico, the western pavement of Demico. And they are, of course, performing some cultural tunes Saturday morning. bite me. Old dog now 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 bite me. Sister Palmer, hold your dog. Old dog now bite me. He bite him master, but he won't bite me. Old dog now bite me. Sister Palmer, hold your dog. Old dog now bite me. Morning, neighbor, morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam, coming to you live from the studios of KAMSTV located in Buxton, and coming to you live on Facebook, that social media platform which has proven to be so useful to those of us who live in a country where democracy is a talk of the tongue, but action speaks louder than words. And so you come to realize that when they talk about democracy, they're talking about mockery. Them a mock we. Right? Them a mock away. And so, away, so far, we have chosen to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as they take us for a royal ride. All citizens, regardless of race, color, or creed, are holding the shortened end of the stick. Some of us like to call it the shitty end of the stick. But we are happy with that because we are good, homegrown Guyanese citizens, and we like to ensure that our society is one of peace and cohesiveness. We like to ensure that we don't come across as racists in our utterances, and we like to come across as very good law-abiding citizens who respect the rule of law and respect the tenets of a democratic society. And so, in order to ensure we maintain that facade, well, it might be a facade, I'm not sure. Lots of us just suck it up. And so things get to continue as normal. What am I talking about? I recognize the several workers have gotten $250,000. Yes, they have gotten their money. Have the frontline workers gotten their risk allowances? Not that I'm aware. You recognize that Vishnu Prasad was selected to be appointed the new Chief Elections Officer? I'm sure you did. Are you aware that he was the least qualified person? I am sure you did. I'm sure you are aware. Did you hear the current chair of GCOM say that Vishnu was chosen because of an endorsement from Steve Surajbali? Hey, yaga. Oi. Right? Did you know all of that? Are you aware of all of that? I am sure you are. But are you aware of the fact that so long as you sit and do nothing about what we consider the abuse
of state power, we are going to remain disadvantaged, oppressed, and in a dictatorship. Some people call it a constitutional dictatorship. Is that what they call it? Is there anything such as a democratic dictatorship? I don't know. But I know for a fact that this, what we are calling a democracy, is nothing but dictatorship. If you think you heard it all, did you hear Jack Doe say that the oversight committee for the Natural Resource Fund is too damn big and cumbersome? In other words, there are too many people to humbug me and my cohorts. We don't want that humbug. 22 persons to check and see what we're doing with the country's natural resources money? No. That can't happen. I won't have it. I am going to destroy that committee. And when I'm done destroying it, I will select by a show of hands who I want to have oversight over that money, or who I want to pretend to have oversight over that money. You all heard that? The question is, what have you decided to do about all of these things which are happening? I can tell you all straight up, don't wait on the opposition to give guidance. And when I say the opposition, I'm talking about what we might consider the Norris. Don't take me off my thought pattern this morning, because like you come for aggravate me this morning. I mean, let him try and change it. Huh? I'm going to come back to you, man, because I don't understand what you're talking about. Let him try and change it. I've heard this talk before. Let her try a thing now. As the song says, touch a button now. Touch a button. How many buttons of this install cabal touched? What y'all do about it? Kiss me teeth. Let me say, don't wait on the official opposition to give you guidance on how to deal with it, because the guidance certainly, for me, doesn't make any sense. That's my point. And when I talk about the official opposition, I'm talking about those political parties that are in parliament. Because they are in parliament, right? They are constitutional offices. Parliament is a constitutional body. Harmon is the leader of the opposition in parliament. Christopher Jones is the opposition chief whip. And you have a number of shadow ministers in the National Assembly, in Parliament, long and short. Then he's like, call it Parliament. There's a difference, but let's keep it that way. Right? Then we're going to get by, relax. So these are the official opposition elements. And so when I said don't rely on the opposition elements, the official opposition elements, and guidance as to how to deal with this thing, I am saying don't rely on the AFC and the PNC and what's your party name? Right? Human Party and so on. Don't rely on them. Don't rely on them. Because if you were paying attention over the weekend, you'll come to realize why it is we are right where we are. And some people can't recognize it. So I'm going to give you a little history. First and foremost, the official leader of the opposition, German, and a lot of his members of his team in parliament have no interest in protests. According to Harmon, protest is a waste of time. It doesn't achieve anything. Right? But there are different forms of protest. Writing letters is a form of protest. Boycotting meetings is a form of protest. Sitting out of parliament, picketing the parliament, they are all forms of protest. Shouting down in front of ministry, targeting a ministry, is a form of protest. But Harman cannot find a single method of protest that is effective. Y'all hear me? And so Harman say, and a lot of those who are singing the songs of Harman, and say, hey, we are interested in protest. It's a waste of time. In short, if you have no interest in protest, and the constitutional agencies are not working in your favor, you are wasting time. You are wasting time. The National Assembly meets today. Now that I come to think about it. And I'm talking about this waste time. Right? National Assembly meets today, I'm sure. The 13th. And the very place that these people go to sit as a constitutional body and represent the interests of the people is the very place where the efforts are nullified. That ain't making sense. Except perhaps it goes on the hand side that they try a thing and they didn't succeed. Let me tell you, for example, Patterson, David Patterson, former Minister of Public Infrastructure, right? The man who had responsibility for GPL and oil to show and stuff like that, submitted a motion more than 3 months ago to the National Assembly to question the cabal on its gas to shore plans and programs. Right? 3 months ago. And since Parliament is due to sit today, private members' day it is. And so private members will have their say. They will get to raise issues and talk about them and so on and so forth. The speakers indicated to Patterson, in my own words, don't think you're going to get your way here today. That motion which you have filed is out of order. Let the boy know your place. The motion out of order. So the speaker stepped in to prevent the cabal answering questions and making clear to the public what they are doing about this gas to shore project, which is costing Guyanese an arm and a leg. Right? An arm and a leg. Listen to GPL recently. How many $1 billion they need? Listen. Dindia said the other day, GPL cannot guarantee any increase of salaries. Even if they were going to get help from the government to pay the 7% back pay, they have no means of sustaining the increase in salary for its workers. Right? Dindial said that. And very shortly after, Dindial also said that they are going to need billions of dollars to spend, to prepare GPL. To prepare GPL for the natural gas transition. Good? So this has to be in some way, somewhere in my mind, I'm thinking, this has to be some component of the government's gas to shore plan, which is already costing Guyanese a whole lot of money. But the representatives of the people can't get clarification in the National Assembly about what this plan is exactly. Because the bottom, the lowest you can be, the Nadir, has stepped in and said to Patterson, your motion is out of order. We will not hear it. Right? So, I'm using this to show you how much sense the official opposition is making in the National Assembly. More than 6 months ago, Jamin Figuera, the Rastafarian MP, the dreadlocked MP from Linden, the Saga Boy MP from Linden, submitted questions for Sitara Gal and Brock Ben, rape in Parliament, and throw down in front of at the Chung Convention Center. Brock Ben and Sitara Gal. Questions were submitted by Figuera. These questions are still on the order paper, but 6 months after, they have not been answered. 6 months after, they have not been answered. But Harman says there's no value in protest. My interpretation, lest he say he didn't say so, there's no value in protest. And so while all of that is happening, GCOM is fixed. Monies are given out, grants are given to people in a discriminatory manner. Jagdeo planning to break up the Oversight Committee for the Natural Resource Fund. Harman says there's no value in protest. And they will continue to go to Parliament. That's what they're doing. They continue to go to Parliament. What if you think Harman alone is the problem? Check the news. The ASC has welcomed the identification, and if he is not appointed yet, soon to be appointed, Vishnu Prasad as its new Chief Elections Officer. The FCSS has said, we welcome the appointment of Vishnu Prasad, despite the fact that he is the least qualified. That's my clarification there. And we also think that more needs to be done to restore trust at GCOM. So sure, the AFC is saying, like the PPP, there's been a breach of trust at yes. Yes. I'm on my program. I will get off at 9 o'clock. Yes. So the AFC agrees that there has been some amount of distrust, breach of trust at GCOM. But what they have also pointed out to me is that there's no commonality, no oneness of strategy and thinking and position taking and approach to dealing with this cabal and all that it is doing. As far as I'm concerned, this is about positioning to milk whatever is coming to this country by way of the oil resources and whatever other forms of development. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of people talking about the next election, and people still talking about coalition. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm putting you on guard. Don't hold your breath to think that the AFC and the PNC will be in any coalition for the next election. Don't hold your breath. Because I'm starting to conclude that that band of people we call the AFC are ready. They've always been ready to go to the highest bidder. I said it, yes, I said it. Charandas put us where we are. He went to the highest bidder. Today he is, he couldn't even be a minister in the APNUFC coalition government. They didn't appoint him a minister. I don't think he was appointed an advisor. He was just a mere member of parliament. And that was not lucrative enough. So when the order was placed, the offer was placed, the cash rip was placed on a platter before him, he couldn't resist. And so his services went to the highest bidder. His services went to the highest bidder. Previously, I discussed with you information I received of the AFC concocting plans with the PPP to horse trade for chairmanship and vice chairmanship of certain regions, regional democratic councils. Because of that open discussion, a lot of it was thwarted, I would want to believe. But there's still an ongoing battle in those very RDCs. Region 4 RDC, there's an ongoing battle. Recently, we saw 2 no-confidence motions submitted. One against the chairman, one against the vice chairman. Both APNU representatives, PNC representatives. One would believe that if these people are in a partnership, they will at least sit and discuss the approach to issues as important as. And you don't wait until it has happened and so you're caught off guard to make a comment. You discuss ahead of it happening, with a possibility of it happening. And so you have a quote-unquote convincing position. The PNC balling at the appointment of Vishnu Prasad. Representing the opposition have agreed that they should consider going to court to challenge his appointment. If the 3 commissioners can consult with each other and come to one position, what's wrong with the AFC and the PNC? Why they can't sit as they are in partnership and discuss this issue and decide how will we move forward should this happen or that happen? And so the opposition is a bunch of masqueraders at Christmas time. And so don't look to them for guidance. They don't know the head from the tail. Right now the PNC is about Congress. And who is the better leader? Well, I see Charles Series dig some lashing some people in making the case why they should not be leaders. Right? Don't depend on them. They can't give you guidance on this. As I want to say, go with your heart. What your heart tells you. Should you sit back and allow GCOM to appoint the least qualified person as Chief Elections Officer? Have you considered the implications? He's a creature of those who ensure that he was appointed. And so he will, out of gratitude, if nothing else, be doing their biddings. And we know he has always been doing their biddings. That alone is reasons for concern. When you consider the authority of the Chief Elections Officer in the preparation for, the hosting of, and the reporting on elections in this country, to accept this which took place in the last few days and say we welcome it, is saying that you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. You are encouraging citizens to accept wrongdoings. And the lady at GCOM said, I appointed this man based on the recommendation of Steve Surabali. Did we see anywhere in the advertisements of these vacancies, did we see any of the criterion being a recommendation from a former chairman of the Elections Commission? So long as the price is right, listen, I do references. I do testimonials to people. I don't charge for them, I do them free. But I know that there are many persons who will do a testimonial for a cost. And so long as the price is right, you can get anything you want. There are some people when they show up in front of me for testimonial, I find all the reasons why I can't give it to them. Because I'm not going to put my credibility on the line. But I'm questioning the credibility of Steve Surabali. Just like I'm questioning the credibility of Claudette Singh. And everybody else involved in this process. Well, we see that Conrad ain't got no credibility. His wife has said that. He masquerading as one thing in the public, but he got serious issues in private. He got no credibility. He has no moral standing. A man who is looking after his children, he got moral authority to talk about anything else. You can get anything you want in this country from certain people once the price is right. And so who is to tell me that that testimonial did not come at the right price? But the least qualified is appointed based on a testimonial. Based on a testimonial, according to Claudette. And people are good enough. People are accepting that. What's the role of citizens in all of this? What shall we do? We shall hold the shitty end of the stick at the end of the day. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? The fix is in. The CEO has been selected and by now appointed. What will we do about it? The gerrymandering is continuing. The gerrymandering is continuing. The positioning and repositioning of state agencies is continuing. And at the end of that all, Jagdio, the PPP cabal, and the cohorts will go smiling into the sunshine with all of our patrimony. And we will be left holding the shitty end of the stick unless we're prepared to do something about it. Political action, national action, revolutionary action. Revolution means change. Actions that will result in change in this society is as much the responsibility of every citizen as it is the responsibility of political and social leaders. Right? Each and every one of us, they say all are involved, all are consumed. Each and every one of us has a responsibility to do something about the situation in this country. We cannot allow it to continue. And I'm saying to you again, like I've been saying for the year plus, organize your communities. Organize your communities. Show willingness to put your shoulders to the wheel to organize your communities. And let us bring those organized communities together and say to the government of the day, say to the actors of state, including the opposition elements, enough is enough. We have had enough and we're not going to take anymore. We have had enough and we're not going to take anymore. But Marley said, give them an inch, they take a yard. Give them a yard, they take a mile. Well, I think they've taken many, many miles right now. Because we continue to give them. And we get nothing in return. What will we do? Dr. Hines like to say, don't tell people about anything now. Christmas in their head. When the Glasgow asked what can we do, I just said what we can do. Christmas in your head, according to Dr. Hines. So you're going to consider protest now. You're going to consider confronting the situation now. But I am positing, I'm saying to you, this is the time. This is the time when the cabal and the cohorts expect to have a good time on the backs of Guyanese. When the businessmen of Regent Street expect to gouge, they expect to take every cent of your pocket from your 7%, your $2,000 every month salary. They expect to have a good time at your expense. Those who are enabling the PPP and the nonsense and the actors of the PPP, they expect to have a good time at your expense this time. And so this is the time to take action. This is the time to take action. Let me tell you how you could do it. I tell you how you could do it if you don't know how you should do it. All the contractors that got multi-million-dollar contracts under this administration through nepotism and cronyism, the checks got to be paid by the end of this month or by the 15th, couple days from now. A lot of them are expecting payments, whether it's first payment or second payment, whatever payment. It is human to err. Make some mistakes on the payment voucher. Make some mistakes on the check requisition. You know what I'm saying? You make them mistakes and bundle the system. So when these mistakes are made, the payments can't come in time for them to have a good time. Long faces. Flaring emotions. That will be the end result. And a lot of falling out. So start doing that. I'm telling you how to do it. Make an error of omission or an error of commission. And so, they can't get nice time from the treasury, at least not in December. There's one step you can take. The other step you can take is keep your money in your pocket. Keep your money in your pocket. As we've been saying, buy just what you need. Buy what you need. And as much as you can buy from within your community, buy it within your community. Hey, I fancy eating a shine rice with bush fish on Christmas Day. Because I've done it before. It's called delayed gratification. It doesn't have to. You don't have to splurge for December 23rd, 24th, 25th, and thereabout and so on. Withhold your money. You could splurge during the new year. And by the time the new year comes, you will realize, hey, I got better use for this money. It might find itself in an investment that will provide profits for the rest of the year. Don't let them get nice time while oppressing you. Today is private members' business in front of the parliament. We believe they're wasting time. We should go there and tell them they're wasting time. They want to protest, you protest them. They don't want to protest, you protest them. You see, I met Charles Series once. I had reason to go visit him because we were having a certain discussion. I met him once. And from that day, I developed tremendous respect for that man and his honesty and his plain talk. I saw a video with him dealing with the little boy Ramson. Over this weekend, I saw him dealing with Harmon and Williams. It might be unpleasant truths. It might be unpleasant truth, but sometimes we have to face these unpleasantness if we're going to come out stronger. If we are going to come out stronger, we have to face them. And so if the opposition is not doing what the opposition is expected to do, they don't want to protest, show them the impact of protest. Embarrass them with protests. The government is messing with you, you mess with the government. It is human to err. You can't tell me I made it wasn't a human error. If something is written incorrectly on the check requisition or the where they use to sign off on work done and so on. But even if you don't want to do that, you can do this because you have control of your pocketbook. Withhold your money. Don't spend. And so all of the containers of goods that are lined up to come off of the wharf, let them come off. You can't stop that. You might not be able to stop it. But they will certainly remain on the shelf. You can ensure that they remain on the shelf. Right? These are things we have to see as options. Like I said, protest has many forms. Not everybody wants to go there and bear the sun and shout at the top of their voice, but find other means and ways of adding to the impact of the protest. You know what I've seen being effective in other countries? Motor vehicle operators deciding that they are going to go at dead slow speed. And you cause such a traffic backup that it takes hours to clear, and so business is slowed. And if that were to happen every day, they ain't gonna get a nice time. Bring out your old vehicle and show it broke down. And show it broke down at a busy intersection. And it broke down in such a way that nothing can pass until the vehicle gets pushed off or towed off of the road. They are all forms of protest. Protest is intended to disrupt the norm. And I'm saying to you, Guyanese have to start disrupting the norm. Because so far the PPP is having its way. It's doing everything that it wants to do. And there's no pushback. There's no challenge. There's no obstacle. There's no bump in the road. Lots of other things we can talk about. But I want to stop shortly. But let me tell you, I saw a video last night with James Bond balling. Balling. Got so heated that he had to turn to we local language. Cuss up. Said I got two Guyana. Because while he was able to go to certain places a few nights prior, and he stopped short of saying party into the morning with live band and so on. His event featuring live band last night was stopped at 10 o'clock by the task force. And so he came to realization, Eureka, I found that Rip Van Winkle as a waiting. They got two Guyana. The other night I went out and I got a party into the morning. And I've seen a whole lot of places hosting a whole lot of things into the morning. But I getting stopped at 10 o'clock when the curfew really is at, what, 12 or 11? Oh, shoots. They got two Guyana. Because I'm operating out of Melanie. That's why they're doing me that. And like you rightly recognize, when they do that to businesses located in black communities, they are robbing those communities of income. Because like he rightly said, since he set up his operation in Melanie, millions of dollars are now making its way to Melanie. People are going to Melanie and they're spending a lot of money. A lot of small businesses are benefiting as spring off from James Bond's presence, his club. And so the cabal, the wicked and vindictive, in their attempt to ensure that black people get nothing in the society, are putting a spoke into the wheels of James Bond and all of those small businesses. Because once we shut down James Bond, everything else gets shut down. And so forget that day. Curfew starts at 11 or 12. Shut him down at 10. Forget that the other places went until 2 o'clock the night before. Shut him down at 10. Forget that on the same night that we're shutting him down at 10, there are other events within the earshot of where we are that will be allowed to go until wee hours of the morning. Right? Two Guyana. But the existence of two Guyana can only be a reality for as long as we have people who are allowing it to happen. And those people, you can find them in the opposition. They are allowing the existence of two Guyana because they don't see the value of protest. Right now it's Congress. Whenever Congress ends on the 18th, y'all come to Kidam's place, sideline down Buxton, and let's have a good after Congress party. I don't know what time they're going to shut it down, but yeah, come let we have some hanging time. Kidam's place after Congress line on the 18th. Right? I know they got two Guyana. So I expect that it might get shut down. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know by who. But the possibility is it might get shut down. That's my reality. Right? But you always put them to the test so that they will show their hands. Good? And so I'm welcoming you all on the 18th. Come let me line after Congress line. The lines are open 6225933. Is the number to call. Call and let's talk about the things. $250,000. The severed sugarcane workers, Gaisuko workers upon their own. We still waiting for the $2,000 per month for the public servants. Frontline workers, we still waiting for them to get theirs, risk allowance and so on. And let me tell you all something that a lot of people have not paid attention to. Here in the announcement of the 7%, they said they got how many millions or hundreds of millions or billions set aside for frontline workers. Don't believe that because you're a nurse, you're a frontline worker. And don't believe that because you are a fire service officer, you're a frontline worker. You really have to be a frontline worker. And who gets to determine who is a frontline worker? The very people who want to oppress you. So don't think all y'all getting anything. Some of y'all gonna get. Right? The rest of y'all gonna vex. And y'all gonna say, Mr. Amsterdam, the tell me though. Call your life, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, all listeners. I want to start off with Kemraj this morning. See, some of us take a long time to be surprised by people like Kemraj Ramjatan. But Kemraj Ramjatan has never surprised me. I know Kemraj Ramjatan personally, and I know his roots. And I can challenge Kemraj Ramjatan like I've challenged him before. Let him go back to quarantine and go from 43 to 49 and see which one individual he can speak to or convince. That's where his roots is from. I know them personally. Kemraj Ramjatan is nothing as you see him. Nothing as you see him. He is nothing else than another head of the PPP snake. That's who he is. And that's what he always going to be. Enough of that. James Bond, I'm not worried about James. He's going to find himself one day. James have many more tears to cry. He's going to find himself one of these days. So those are the two things I want to talk about. I'm not worried about Congress and all that. That's going to sort out itself. I just want to speak on those two topics this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. You're trying to talk the thing. What you are fighting for talk this morning? Let me see. I don't see any voice notes. Kwale Live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to everybody and a blessed week this week. Now, you talk about money and several workers and so on doing that thing. This has brought me to a point that I'm talking about. Now, the frontline workers, the nurses, cannot get no type of increase. The thing on the map, I don't know, we didn't touch on that topic, where the nurses who were accused of selling the blue book for this great sum of money, $65,000. I don't say that the nurses are right in doing that, but Bojo sang a song, circumstances made me what I am. In this type of economic jungle, this economic situation in Guyana, where everything goes to the highest paid worker, because when you increase salaries, everything goes up, because you're now attracting more money because people have been paid more money. So now when you're a nurse getting $2,000 as a promise, because it has not been added on to any public sector worker salary as a promise, and with the high that cost of living is, you will look into areas of getting money. However you think it is, you will do your best to earn more money. I'm not saying the nurses are right, because that's out of the box, but you're thinking out of the box in ways to earn money. And in your state as a nurse, the only way you could earn extra money is to go to extremes. Either you get rid of drugs or something, but you're working within the area there. Because the nurses cannot go to the gold field and thief gold and sell. They got to sell what they're underneath dating. Now the police who claim that they led this thing operation to unearth this thing with the books, I am glad how they were up to date to do what they did. Now we talk about that girl from Buxton or on the East Coast who decided the best way out was to commit suicide, because after going to the police station, the place of service and protection, and she was dealt with that way how the police looked into her matter. I hope there is a place where those police and many police who does all these things, like look at that picture with a police learning code out to thieving, murdering people. If you got a court case and you pay a good money, your jacket lasts, case can't go to court. I hope that they are people who will investigate those police and bring them to the front to be highlighted, let the world see who they are, and to do proper picture for them. Now, coming back to these nurses, this is a wheel in a wheel. Many of the persons whom the government is forcing to take the poison in the system, they don't want it. So before they take it, as the installed regime and around the world behave better, people would have known what to do. But you keep forcing people. When people sit down and look at people are like Colin Powell and many great people who went on the instructions and took the poison into the system and subsequently died. Many persons know of friends, may have close relatives who have taken it. Oh, let us go and take it because it's going to assist us. And they die after having that into their body. Decide, we ain't going to do that, but we got to show a book everywhere we go. Let me see how we could get it. Now, the nurses now come together, you know what? We can do a business, give these people the book and take a little money. Them same police who gone out, they should make certain that they get them and see to it that they are vaccinated. Even if when they don't get the vaccination, they trap down and dead like how they does trap down and dead like flies, you ain't concerned. Make certain that every police is fully well vaccinated. Got the camera upon them and let the world see that they're taking the vaccine. Because plenty police going and pay for them same book to show the authorities that they have been vaccinated so they could get the salary and pray to God for get the 7%. I hope that the police force becomes a force, just like how they hunt down these nurses, to hunt down all the bad police within the Guyana police force, who thieving, who murdering, who ducking case jacket, and who doing all kind of things, must come to the front and let us have a pristine police force in Guyana. That is my take today. Bye-bye.
Thank you. 6225933 is the number to call. The time is now 18 hours 17 on the 13th day of December in the year 2021. You're tuned to the BUXTONIAN Morning Time. Now let me talk the thing. Y'all sit back and accepting everything. Let's just stand up for something. Or lie down for anything. Call A Live, good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Hi, good.
So a quick question, really. This situation with the selection of the new CEO of GCOP, is this the end of the story? What happens here? Because I can remember during the election time in 2020, coming to 2020, the coalition they submitted. I think it was someone for the chairmanship but there were a whole lot of stuff that they went all the way to the CCT and so on, because the opposition, the then opposition, the PEP, they didn't like it, so they took it all the way to the courts and then it had to be a change. And they had a way. So what is the situation? Is this going to remain with this person that they've selected to be the CEO? Is this the end of the case? I want to know. Just answer me, please. Thanks.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. I wish it is not the end of the case, because I am of the firm opinion somebody needs to move to court on it, and somebody perhaps can move to court on it. The commissioners are considering it. Last I read, they were considering it under advisement. Call A Live, good morning.
Hi, good morning, my brother. How are you doing? Calling from United States. I've listened to the Charlie series video that he put out. It is surprising that we have so many people attacking it, right? But I think that the man was very, very honest in his analysis of the situation, and given the situation as it is, you understand, his endorsement of Lord Aubrey Norton was on point. All right. I've seen some of the former executive members, or the so-called elite of the party, the so-called elitist group of the party is attacking him. But I remember Harmon saying to the Guyanese public that he's a businessman, a lawyer, then a politician. So I'm still not understanding how is it that Harmon is being chosen as this guy to lead, and he hasn't proven to be a leader. This guy threw down the hammer on every issue as a opposition leader. Same way, the same thing goes to Basil Williams. Basil Williams, as Attorney General, hasn't made any attempt to represent the 1,400 plus Guyanese families that are still suffering because the PPP administration, you understand, either had them executed through extrajudicial killing. I'm not saying that it's Basil Williams' responsibility to make sure charges are being brought, But I'm saying that in his office, he, as the Attorney General, was supposed to ensure that some directive has been passed to the DPP so that we can investigate those issues. Because that is part of what I think the Granger or the APNU had on their manifesto. They would find and charge and prosecute everybody that is found guilty of killing or extrajudicial killing between 2006 and 2011. So, kudos to Mr. Charlie Series. You understand? And I'm supportive, I'm 100%, 110% behind it as it relates to that. I don't agree with everything he says. You understand? I'm not in agreement of him taking the, being part of the Hits and Jam, the Shafiq Kashif and Shanghai 347 million contract as an engineer. I understand he's a businessman, but if you're going to show that sincerity and that commitment to the black cause, you understand? The black African cause in Guyana, the same people that you're trying to support here with $346 million, the same people who are discriminating against African Guyanese. So, you understand? I'm not too much agreement with that with him, but I think he's on point as it relates to the RB Norton case. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. You know, let me come back on screen as I say this. I like you all see my face when I say certain things, so that you understand that I'm not hiding and I'm not afraid to say what I want to say when I say it. A lot of people been talking, making a lot of noise about inquiry into the 1,400 plus deaths and death squads and this and that and the other and the next. Excesses of the PPP government and so on. Call all the line. Hold the line, please, caller. Caller, hold the line, please. But over the years, I've come to one conclusion. And that conclusion can be wrapped up in the statement of a notorious, allegedly notorious criminal. Y'all remember Sean Hines? Where's Sean Hines? Sean Hines came out and Sean Hines on national television talking to Travis Chase, saying, you know where all the skeletons are buried. And anytime you start digging the skeletons, you're going to find opposition and government elements among those responsible for the skeletons. Right? I have no doubt. I have no reason to doubt Sean Hines. And so I'm saying a lot of things which the ordinary citizens expect in this country in terms of investigations and commissions of inquiry and so on did not happen as promised, and perhaps will never happen if we continue to put our trust in some particular group of politicians in this country. It's as simple as that. You need a new breed of politicians, people who are willing to belly cat, people who got skeletons in their closet, if you want those inquiries. Because at that time, wherever the chips will fall, let them fall. I believe there are a lot of people who went to Granger and said, Chief, don't touch them. Don't touch them. It ain't gonna end nice. So y'all stop talking about the failure to have these inquiries. That's my reality. I'm the conspiracy theorist. A lot of them gonna get skin up. And since they have the authority to prevent getting skin up, they choose not to get skin up. That's why when you're digging grave for one person, for your enemy, consider digging two. Because a lot of them tie up with the same enemies that we're talking about. Call it live, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'd like to say good morning to the entire Guyana. And Guyanese need to start getting wise. Now, some people might want to consider the nurses that get in charge or they might be investigated for what they are doing. And a lot of things would come out of that. But I want to say one thing. Even to the same people who are charging these people for the claiming that forgery vaccine card, the same people, if you check them, they weren't vaccinated themselves.
Take a pen, caller. Not only weren't they vaccinated, lots of them bought books also.
Exactly.
Continue.
Exactly. So the same note is that you should, I would advise them to call the names out that went to them to get the same vaccinated card. Let the investigation lead to wherever the chips fall. Everybody be a part of it. Call them out. Call out the people, and even to the ministers and ministries and all of them. Call people out. So they're going to know that this thing is not only for the nurses, it must be for everybody who involved. And I sure the minister wasn't vaccinated. They got no evidence to show that he did take the vaccine. People need to start doing things who are going to bring consciousness to people, bring down the government who feel that they could do as they like. Guys need to start getting more serious than they are today. Allowing a lot of things to happen. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, caller. You know, every day, you understand? I'm tired and fed up, or getting tired and fed up. Right? Honestly, every day when I consider what is happening in this country, I want to be the president. I would love to be the president of this country. Even if it is a 1 day, 1 year. Seriously. Because I know things could change around. I might be digging 2 graves. Digging for those who are destroying this country, and digging for myself. Because when you go hard at them, they come hard at you. And that's my position all the time. I keep telling y'all, I know they got contract for me. I know they want to get me out of the race. Right? But it must be a Pyrrhic victory for them. It must come at such a cost that it must come at such a cost that it wasn't worth it. Because when you consider a lot of these people who are supposed to get your back, who are supposed to be leading this nation and making it something great, ensuring Guyanese enjoy their patrimony, a lot of them just want dumping entire barrels. It's a deal and a deal. It's a set on the table and the carpet runnings. Opposition and government elements mix up in gold mining and diamond mining and fuel smuggling. How you could get them to face justice? But all of them involved in the same thing. That's Sean Hines. He can tell you. Call your live, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Amsterdam. Good morning. Hi, man. They should confusion powder, man, in Guyana. Confusion to the highest. Now, I had listened to the opposition leader there a couple of days ago after the announcement that arrived out of GCOM. The man there on the aisle condemning and pointing out where the rules and the principles and all of these stuff wasn't applied or adopted there at GCOM. It was political and stuff like that. He tried his best to condemn Claudette Singh in one of the nicest way. And when he finished the conclusion of his press conference, he endorsed what he condemned. Can somebody tell me what really going on with this opposition? You just finish condemning something and then you endorse it at the end? I hope the delegates, they're paying attention who he's trying to convince to cast the vote there on the 18th. Then you got now the AFC on the other hand, put out a press conference to supporting, but in a way saying that it's going to happen. Both sides would have been disapproved if it did go either way. You want to tell me that is what AFC get to say that, in a press conference concerning GCOM? You see something really mentally or something wrong with these people within the opposition? Are they in a different world? I want to know what if they know it, particularly AFC. They realize that they're in Guyana. Man, the people that got they don't got the PPP alone for handle on their hands. They also got the opposition. So it's double trouble. That's my take, because you can't understand what's going on, man.
Thank you, caller.
Yes, man.
There's a hierarchy of things. When you have a meeting, for example, and there are several speakers, the leader speaks last. The most important person speaks last, except the MC who closes it off. Right? There must be a reason for that. And the reason is to avoid contradictions. Or if there were contradictions before, if there were misinterpretations before, then the leader clarifies it in closing it off. You mean to tell me the AFC and the PNC in a partnership? At least I would assume so. They're still in parliament together. On a matter like this, they can't sit and decide what are the speaking points, what we're going to go hard at, what we will conclude, and allow one person to speak on it. Even if you want to do a joint press conference, let's do it together. But no, they're jostling each other for space. And the caller said Harmon condemned everything and then he endorsed just what he condemned. Harmon is really making an effort to prove that he can be the opposition leader and he can be the leader of the PNC. They say a stitch in time saves 9, but I don't know that you can get saved in the 11th hour. Right? I saw Harmon protesting the other day in front of Charles Ramson's ministry. After about 16 months, 15 months, Harmon is on a protest line for 15 minutes. Why is that so? Is it desperation? No, it can be. Mr. Harmon said, never let your position be your conclusion. I think that's what I heard him say over the weekend. Never let your position be your conclusion. In other words, you might be dumb, but don't be out. Corey Live, good morning.
Morning, Kadaki. Morning, Guyana. It seems like it's a comedy show, comedy of errors. Guyana not a real country, I guess, because with all the things that have taken place since the install regime, and all Guyanese keep doing, so yeah, we keep talking, but after the fact, after they have done things, that's where we can say we can't let them do when they've already done it. Here is it that they've installed a CEO, and they'll be talking about it after the fact, as opposed to having a stance way before and stick to it. So, nothing is going to be done, because from the Henry boys to Boston to Andres to DCO shooting the Amerindia woman in the stomach, nothing came about. Nothing is going to be done, like I said last week. Keep sitting there, nothing is going to be done. And it just seems like the Guyanese folks are in a trance, in a daze, and they're just letting the Indian-dominated PPP party just stomp them, lash them, and all we're doing is just taking it. So you can't fix stupid, and it just seems to me, in my opinion, there's a lot of stupidness going on in Guyana, and we're just accepting it, and that's it. That's my take.
Thank you, caller. Roberto Ray is asking, where is Mr. Trotman from the SC? He's very silent. Yes, Roberto. I understand he has lost his voice. Okay? Let us wish him a speedy recovery. He was ailing a while now. Many of you knew that he had that voice problem. And so, I don't think he can speak a whole lot right now. But I'm sure he can write. Caller Live, good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. I'm piggybacking on what you said about Harmon going out there and protest that Charles Ramson issue. If you listen to if you listen to Harmon didn't go out there because he wanted to push back and because he wanted to, push back on Ramson. Harmon said he went out there to support the people who are protesting. That's different. He went out there to be there with the people who were protesting. So he didn't go out there because he wanted to protest. To me, it's just, it's just a show. It was just a show. But you know what? Time is running out on him. It's late. It's too late now. And too late shall be the cry. Bye.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain over 6225933 is the number to call.
So he didn't go out there.
We need a new political class in this country. We need a new political breed. A set of people who will call it as they see it, and they will do what is necessary to clean up this mess. Is it in the Philippines? I can't remember. What's the name of this guy? I mean, he has been excessive. But sometimes you need some bitter medicine. Am I right in saying when you find your corruption in China, they execute you? Y'all tell me if I'm right or wrong. We need to have some condign action in this country for some people doing foolishness. It's 8 hours 38. There's some voice notes. Let me start playing them.
Though we are saying there is a reality, because the note to the self that day is a part of all what been taking place too. They got a lot of answers, especially in particular Basil and Harmon. Because remember, them was liar for the PPP. Thank you very much. Brother, there's why I'm saying from the day one, when we see what went on in the election, we ain't even supposed to leave the streets, none at all, and allowing all this here for how much months for just banging over we head and tormenting we night and day. We should have shut the blasted tongue down long now.
Good morning, Chief. I said it on 1 year programs before for the AFC. I said it with the no confidence motion. They talk on Barbies. That the people in Barbies ain't get nothing what they promise and this and that. And Sharon Das, blah, blah, blah. And David Hines said it this morning, that the coalition was sidelined in. That's the talk. That's the talk. AFC got any votes to get? No, they don't have. Because the AFC got a lot of bourgeois voters. Bourgeois voters. And they're reaping the benefit of this organization. Poor people don't hardly benefit, boss. But they got the little businesses, they got the connection, they got this, they got that. So all this coalition we're talking about, and you hear this stupidness the man talk about when was the election going on. He talking about Russians and comfort with computers and all kind of thing. We vote with pencil. The Russians don't come with pencil and eraser. Y'all don't see what going on, buddy. Yeah. All of them, Patterson and all them, there's just loafers to get their money. That's all they did. They know it could take them another 15, 20 years if they ever get power. They collate and they screw up the whole PNC. You think PNC screw up themselves? It's them. Good.
Caller, your life. Good morning.
Good morning to all your listeners throughout the world and around Guyana especially. Now, my contribution this morning is simple and brief. We know the ways of the politicians that we got in this country for over 40 or much years now. We need to remove them, brush them off. If Norton is saying that he ain't got no bones in the closet, let him move away from the PNC party, Farmy party, and do his slate, and let me get this business on, because at the end of the day, this thing belongs to one thing, the issues that the people are facing in this country, and is who's going to defend it. We keep mixing up the thing all the time. We bring him back and put him back and shuffling wrong and bringing wrong, and got the same set of corrupted people running the country, corrupting things, corrupting everything, and got the people them living blindly. No defense for the people them, no representation for the people them, no nothing. They stands for nothing about the people them. Everything is about themselves and particular and special aims. We need, if Norton is saying that he's going to listen to the people, then Norton come. I don't know what's so particular in building back PNC party and all of this thing, when at the end of the day, it's not a party facing problems and issues in this country. It's the people of the country, the citizens of the country facing issues and facing problems in the country. You understand me? At the end of the day, I keep telling them, we got 20,000 people, 200,000 people voting for PNC party, and everybody hold a PNC card, and everybody cannot get to voice their opinion to who they want for be leader and who they want for be chairman, etc. You understand me? Because the executive, they are compromised by the candidate, because at the end of the day, when they get a promise, and they get a promise to get a position and get to this, they coming out and telling the people a bunch of stories for distract the people them and for put the people them in another region. These old-time politicians, as the talk and all them, is classes, they need to go. This is my contribution. They're only disturbing look, me generation, me youths, me children to come, me grandchildren, them got to come for face this. I'd rather die before them face this here, so. So these classes, them were what people telling people, but they're waiting for Congress and they're waiting for this and they're waiting for that, and then immediately the war begins. Since the day we see election, it went right in this country. The war's supposed to begin, and it's supposed to come to no end until we get the real things in this country. And we ain't getting nothing real. Everybody just and I tell you already, my brother, and I'm telling you all again, this thing is about the issues of what people facing in this country, our resources, how it going all over the place, and we ain't getting fulfilled. You understand me? Like we transform into no island gas economy, and all this thing need to stop. There's my contribution this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Voice note.
Mr. Salam. A lot of the ministers take the injection, a lot of them. It's not people alone. The police man take it, the minister man take it. You know, like it's setting the cat for catch a rat. It's dog going on in Guyana, right? These people are focusing, and if we black people don't get up and get, dog eat we. No, it's that phantom gang, it's that this gang. No, it's not phantom gang. People dressing like police is not police. They work with police, killing innocent black people, children. Like, I don't know what's the innocent black people, children, and they lock up, bare lies, beating them for confess for things they want them to do. And the police them is the thief. The police them taking crime, right? And putting black people, children them to the gun. A lot of things going on in Guyana. People telling people they can't go home, people and kill them, and people and this, people and that. We have to speak not just but the truth. Not just but the truth. I don't know what's going on in Guyana. I got family living in Guyana. Day and night, I just pray for everybody. Everybody, when God come, everybody, because me understand. And the youth just kill them, and people and this, people and that. We have to speak not just but the truth. Not just but the truth. I don't know what's going on in Guyana. I got family living in Guyana. Day and night, I just pray for everybody. Everybody, when God come, everybody, because me understand. And the youth just punishing. Some parents frightened for go forward because the police threaten them to kill them. You want to know really going on in Guyana, right? We know when Mr. Ranger be there, nobody want him, nobody saying that kind of thing. But face reality, everybody afraid for their life.
Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Let's start the thing. Voice note.
So the leader of the AFC is signaling to the political world that the AFC supports the choosing of Vishnu Prasad as the next official CEO of GCOM. Who is the currency that the AFC are using to say to the world that they support Vishnu Prasad? I asked that question. What currency? Who are the supporters that the AFC leadership is using? Who is the AFC leveraging as its convenience to say, these people support me in the AFC? And I, the AFC leader, I'm saying to the world, we in the AFC support Vishnu Prasad for the CEO. And I am asking, who are those supporters? In whose name is the leader of the AFC, Kamraj Ramjatan, saying to the world that we who support the AFC support that kind of a nomination, that kind of a vote? I emphatically disagree. So I ask the question to Kamraj Ramjatan, in whose name does he stand up to the world and say the AFC supports Vishnu Prasad? Who is the currency? Who are the people? I beg to differ. And we need to call him out on that. Vishnu Prasad is good for who? So I asked the question, does Amanza support Vishnu Prasad? Does Christopher Jones support Vishnu Prasad? I asked the question, does Rickford Bork support Vishnu Prasad? Does Coretta McDonald support Vishnu Prasad? So I asked the question again, how come? Oh yes, I forgot. Does Sherrod Duncan support Vishnu Prasad? That's what I want to know. Where is Ramjatan getting this currency, this support, where he could rush out and say, ladies and gentlemen, the AFC supports Vishnu Prasad? That's what we need to ask Kamraj Ramjatan, and we need to ask Sherrod Duncan as well, and Amanza. Now, I know Amanza is with the PNC. I know Christopher Jones with the PNC. But Sherrod Duncan in the ring, is he saying that Sherrod Duncan is using us, supporters of Sherrod Duncan? Is Kamraj Ramjatan saying that he is using us as currency, as leverage to say we support Vishnu Prasad? Hell no.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning.
Thank you for holding.
Kadaki, this thing is disturbing what is taking place with GCOM, with this new CEO. As from Jumpstart, I always say, Mr. Arman, our effort for is right. We don't need no writing at this point in time. You need to have your force on the street with peaceful protests against these people. Let us take a look and see what that woman is doing at GCOM, Talia Singh. She is shifting the goalposts all the time in PPP favor. And Joe Arman just sit back as the opposition leader is not coming out in his force and call his members them out to protest what is going on in Guyana. When black people going to get up and stand up? I'm not hearing nothing about Cassius or none of them come out and speak out about this new appointment of this CEO at GCOM. Then last night I was looking at James Bond show that he has. And we were going show them at 10 o'clock last night. And other part of Georgetown acting at a certain time. And it was not shut down at 10 o'clock. So if black people look what's going on in all the black people neighborhood that have basis that have taken place, they're trying to stifle us and keep us down under the knee. And we have to get up, Kadaki. Kadaki, I like your spirit. I like your spirit. You prefer to die for what you know than to give up your right to those punishers that want to keep us down. And you continue to do your good work. And God will protect you from all those wicked ones who want to take you out. God going to protect you. Long life for you and more strength, my brother. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain on 6225933. We have 7 minutes of program time. Maybe we can take another 2. Let me see if there are voice notes. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. It's time the Guyanese people stop calling on the government, stop calling on the AP and UAFC for represent them and come out to the streets by the thousands and protest. This is what they need to do. They need to stop frightening the police and the soldiers. This is the only way the PPP can understand. You got to come out by the thousands. You got to show the PPP them that they're scared of them. This is what the Guyanese people need to do. Instead of just calling upon the program and complaining, they need to come out and go and protest. I live in America, you see how the people them is do? Just come out by the thousands. And they don't frighten the police them. Just come out and do what they got to do. You see Black Lives Matter time? How they come out by the hundreds and the thousands to stand up? That's what they need to do. Guys, people need to wake up, come out by the hundreds and the thousands and stand up on the road. And protest. And let the PPP know that they're frightening them. Let the police and the soldiers know. Y'all gotta kill we. But we moving from out of the streets. Y'all do what y'all got to do. We gotta do what we got to do. That's what the guys, these people need to do. And stop complaining.
Thank you, caller. Yes, we need thousands of people on the street. Maybe we need the army to strike also. The last remain open 6225933 is the number to call. There's another voice note. Let's play it.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. What I want to know is, did the Guyanese people that Barrett Jagdeo and the government is working for ask them to remove the oversight committee or the system that is in place to see that everything is done right and straightforward without corruption concerning the Isle Fund? Did the Guyanese people ask them to do that? So how is it that they just come up with an idea, we're going to remove it? Why are they removing it? If it just doesn't make sense. And why is the Guyanese people just listening to Mr. Jagdeo saying he's doing these things and nobody is saying, well, we don't want that. Leave the system in place. We think that is the best thing. Everybody needs to come out and say that.
You know, this call is so right. This voice note is so right. Did the Guyanese ask for this cumbersome oversight committee to remove? No. Are Guyanese going to challenge the utterances of Jagdeo that says he will remove it? Take your pick. Right? Why is Jagdeo allowed to do as he likes? Because nobody is challenging him. It's as simple as that. I got a thing I like to see. When blind man tell you to pelt you, you already got the break, number one. Number two, the PPP has a way of testing the waters. They make pronouncements before they take action. And when they make those pronouncements and nobody objects, nobody does anything about it, then they put it into action. But up to now, nobody is recognizing that, and nobody is challenging them. Including the other opposition. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. How are you?
Right now,
This morning you're fire.
hold your line, please. Hold the line. I'm not getting your volume. Yes, caller, go ahead.
Okay, Kadaki, right about now, everybody's so fed up and tired. I don't know why Mr. Armand don't sit down and relax himself, because he know he ain't got no good for our country. He ain't have nothing good behind his shoulders, because everyone calling his name, from young, old, intelligent, lawyers, doctors, everybody calling his name. Because if you're in opposition, you're supposed to stand up for your people and do what you have to do. I don't know no opposition doing the things that he's doing. Look in Trinidad, when the Indians and then you have the black side was thinking, look how they fight up and carry on, and he just sit there. Whatever they say, he just allow it to happen, and he's not doing what he's supposed to do. You could read between the lines to see how cocky he is. Cocky, he's cocky. And when people talk things, that's when he's ready to come out and say, oh, we are black people are doing this and black people. You're not doing nothing. He's not doing 1 ounce of nothing. You just sit there, and then you want to come out and say you want to be running the country. Running the country where? So everybody could take over. You don't see how those people living? People are starving. Things are so expensive. Everything is high, high, high. Much less for other countries. Everywhere is expensive. But the other people have an opportunity because they're not helping the poor people. They don't have no public assistance where they could help them and give them food, give them money to go buy food. In North America, in Canada, and all those places, they provide food for the kids. They provide stimulus check. Every month, those parents are getting a check in the mail for their children. What are they doing for them? Armand needs to go and rest himself and leave somebody else to take over who can that could jam for that country to come out to be something good. When the president of Guyana say anything, you need to stand up to them and say, no, this is wrong. You cannot do this. If you're not going to do the right thing, well, nothing is shut the country down. You get in the country running, they're taking all the oil in a blasted big submarine they got to there, and America just taking all the oil, and we're going left with it. Just like what they did to Grenada. That's what they're going to do us. Why are people just sitting down there and just allowing them to do what they want to do? That is not right. We need to protest in America here and let them know how we feel about politics. I know Rick Ford, we're going to get them going. You have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. It's now 9 o'clock in the morning. It's time for me. There are about 6 voice notes which I will play, and that's the end of the program. This caller, you sent me a voice note already. I don't know why you're calling still. Let's see why. Caller, you can't double dip. I got your voice note. Why are you still calling? Good morning.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you got the voice note. Sorry. I'll pass.
Thank you very much. Your voice note was played already.
Sorry.
Okay, good. Let's wrap up the program. Voice notes.
Because these delegates them is believed to themselves, you understand me? When they get the promises from the candidates, you understand me, they could stand up and they got tongues and ways where they could influence people and tell people at certain ignorance who to vote for and who must represent.
Good morning, my brother. When we black people come to realization and understand and call a spade, nobody likes us. People uses us. As long as we're in a position to help and defend them, that's what we there for. You understand? Nobody likes us. We got to come to the sad reality that nobody likes us. No other race likes us. Now we finish with the things, then we going to Prasad. Do not sing. Planet sing. Joe sing. Now we going to the Prasad. Right? When we can understand and start doing things as black people, we gotta come together about it, and it's hard. You understand? I tell you, if we don't stop and think and try to make a change, we're going down a serious road, my brother. Serious road.
Voice note.
That's what I'm saying. They are talking about protests against the government. You have to protest against the coalition. I've been saying that a long time. You have to protest against the coalition, take issue with the coalition. You can't twist it and turn it. Them is the nonsense for going on. All two of them. According to the AFC, they waste 10 years. From 11 to 20. 12 years, right? Or whatever. That's 5 and 5. They didn't collate the first time, and they work with the PNC. They ain't get nothing. They get coalition, they go in there, there was backbenchers. They sit down there, can't say nothing. David ain't saying it now. We're saying it a long time, and it's on the street. Anybody would tell you that in the bourgeois scene. If you deal with the regular voters who ain't even paying attention, all they know is PPP and all they know is PNC. They know nothing else, and they know where to put the X. That's all. But you deal with the people who run the show and who got a voice in this country. They will tell you. Well, we thought AFC would have get something, would have make something happen for we and things like that. No, boss. You got protests against them. If you want homeboy, Norton, if you want Norton, you got to get out these programs and go to Congress Place and demand we want Norton. Because if we demand we want Norton, we get in the same bo. God bless you, right? But Guyana is a real place. The politicians is not real.
Voice note.
No, I hope I'm not too late with this one. What a voice notice said just now about Cheryl Duncan. Is this a ploy of Kemraj Ramjadan to silence the show in the ring, where many persons would listen to and get the credible aspect of the news? Because when he said that AFC is in agreement with the choice of the installed one now at GCOM, many people like myself, the Noto, and other people might want to stop watching Cheryl Duncan show. Thus, his show could fall through the cracks. So I hope Cheryl could do something about that today.
It's now 9 hours 5 and I'm on to my last voice note for the morning's program. Let's listen to it.
Mr. Kadaki, anything to do with transparency and accountability, Jagdeo does not like. And as far as I'm concerned, Jagdeo is the president, Imfrom is the puppet, as well as Mr. Phillips and the others.
Y'all listen to Black Stallion. There's a lot of isms and schisms. Have a great day, y'all. Isms and schisms.
Grenada, Grenada, the black man, thank you. Grenadians teach me my biggest lesson. And who alone from them I am sorry. But listen to the lessons Grenadians teach me. They teach me capital, social or communism. It's the same gunhead all of them on. And from the time you team up with them, like Grenada, you're straight on the losing end. My friend,
to stay away from them is all them is confusion.
You must have a nuclear weapon. Just to what is with the gun telling you to vote? One saying to vote with a bomb at your throat. They're saving all their arms and ammo for me and selling the wheat for the enemy. Got to stay away from them, ism. All them ism is just schism. From the time you team with one of them ism, the first thing they're talking about is protection. Double tax of people fool your treasury. You got to maintain an efficient army. And too much pressure from the opposition. They could always rent you a whole battalion. And when you get in exism out the way, how much life it costs you could never see. No way, no way, no way. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your ism. Rescue mission to help Grenadian. Rescue mission to Afghanistan. Rescue mission going the world over, but no rescue mission to South Africa. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is just schism. Remember when Grenada had a ism that everybody say was mongoose oppression. The other ism just take up some gun, and they had the whole mongoose back on the run. 4 years later the thing turned back round. It's the same mongoose doctrine preaching in town, and Grenadians keep suffering evermore. All the taxpayers' money going for war, and more war, and more war. But to stay away from them ism. All them ism is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your ism. They say how to keep sports on politics. Every 4 years they boycott an Olympic. And while we arguing about who good and who bad, them gone out in space and exchanging flag.
Got to stay away from them ism.
All them ism is just schism.
Isms and schisms.
The time is right now more than ever. For man to sit down and write a new order, where man would respect a man as a man, and not through color and superior weapon. Where he must be equal, righteous and fair, and realize that the earth is for all to share, and to his fellow man always be true. But until that day come here, what I could do, and you too, got to stay away from them, You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your reason. One is say come, one is say go. One is say yes, the next one say no. And while we keep fighting, there is a war. We people keep getting poor and more poor. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is just kism.